Hello, welcome to today's episode of A Coffee with Chris, the social media show that helps you create impact. As always, brought to you in association with our charity partners, 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗲, who help local people affected by cancer, and Blue Bear Coffee. These guys are the coffee for your businesses, so they can help children that have sadly experienced human trafficking. Today, I'm sipping on their 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗶𝘀 blend. It is delicious. You can pop into their store if you're based in Norwich on Tombland, or you can order it online. And as I say, a brilliant social enterprise doing some incredible work. This show is also sponsored by Oliver Hill, Limitless Film and Media, Mindset HR, and Wingfield Consultants. Let's get to today's guest. I'm delighted to be joined by founder of the East Anglian Marketing Awards, digital marketer and personal branding advocate, Grace Appleby. Grace is a marketing leader. Hello, Grace. Grace is a marketing leader, passionate about helping people and businesses create personal brands that connect and inspire. Grace, welcome aboard. We start with the why. Why should people develop a personal brand?
Well, it is my favourite topic. I think for many reasons, really. But to begin with, I think whenever people are making a business decision or a purchasing decision, they want to go with a safe bet, right? They want to go with someone they feel like they can trust and who they think they're going to get what they're trying to find from that person, right? And I think especially in times of uncertainty, so whether that's economical or, there's wars going on, political uncertainty, even more so, people turn to reviews and recommendations and referrals to try and alleviate any risk and find that safe bet, right? And I think it brings me back to a phrase which I always bring up when I talk about personal branding, which is, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? You hear that a lot in showbiz, Chris, But I think it's so true, because you could be the best at what you do, you could be absolute top of your game, and you could be the exact perfect solution to what someone's looking for. But if they don't know you exist, and if they don't know how great you are, you're never going to get that business, and you're never going to get that referral. So really, it's all about awareness, and awareness is kind of like the new currency, I think, in the current market we're working in.
Massively.
Yeah, and I think people need to not only know you exist, but they need to feel like they trust you and feel like they like you in order to want to do business with you. And personal branding is a way to fast track those three things, basically. And before I go on and ramble for too long, whenever I say personal branding, 50% of who I'm speaking to switch off, because it's jargon, right? It's a phrase, it's a buzzword that people don't tend to like. They associate it with inauthenticity. Which is a mouthful, and a lot of people find it quite icky. But if you swap that word for reputation, which we all know is important, we all know we should avoid things that might damage our reputation and invest in things that might help it. That is all personal branding is. It's curating our reputation and purposefully shaping how people think of us and see us. So I think it's incredibly important. And last thing, I think the way you spot a good personal brand today is, do you remember when we met, Chris? And it was the first time we'd spoken properly, but I felt like we were besties. Do you remember this? I was like, we know each other, right? We're friends. Yes. And we've never spoken. But why do you think that was? Because you said the same thing to me. You felt like we knew each other.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because we consistently post online. We are not just sharing our skills and expertise, but we are talking about our story, why we do what we do, our business and personal values. Mm-hmm. And I personally feel like because we've consistently turned up, it just felt so much warmer, so that when we met, it wasn't this kind of cold corporate business discussion. Yeah. It was like two friends meeting for the first time. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, top marks. I'll pay you later. But yes, absolutely. I think because not only do we both post a lot online, which is not me tooting our horns, but you know what I mean. We post a lot, but we also show our personality. I'm not afraid to ramble and show the good bits and the bad bits and kind of flap around a bit, because that's what I'm like. Mm-hmm. And you share your story and your hardships, and as do I, and therefore I feel like I knew you. So when we met, I was very happy to refer anybody to you, because I already felt like we were there and had that connection. So I think that's the main reason personal branding is so important today, is it is a way for people to feel connected to you and therefore refer opportunities to you, whatever those might look like.
Yeah, brilliant, Grace. What a great way to start. I particularly love the way that you've just kind of switched personal brand to personal reputation. And likewise, my experience of talking to people about it is they get the ick when they hear that. But I thought this was an interesting really book to show people, actually, if they haven't read it already. Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. I believe that, Grace, you're going to see him speak next week or something. Now, this is a great way for people that have the ick with personal brand to understand the why behind it. Because if you can become a key person of influence for your market by producing personal content, it's going to help. Grace, I think you've really poured the petrol on my fire there, which is brilliant. What about for the people that are just starting out, Grace, right? What about those people that are hiding behind their business brand for whatever reason it is? What would you recommend to start out on this journey, to start posting on their personal accounts to help their personal and professional lives?
I think there's two. The first thing to do is to work out your why, which if you get the ick from personal branding, your why is probably really going to make you roll your eyes. But I think working out why you want to post on LinkedIn or invest time and effort into your personal brand is the first step. It doesn't matter if you don't have a very clear goal. So when I first started posting on LinkedIn, when I was networking in Norwich back in 2020, I just knew that having connections would help me at some point in my career. I wasn't looking for a job at the time, and I wasn't looking to sell anything to people. I just knew that people would be helpful, right? And that's, all about who you know always. But if you have your why, first of all, posting on any social media is hard. That's why people pay people like you, Chris, to post on their behalf. It's really hard, right? And on the days when you really can't be bothered, it's important to remember why you're doing it in the first place, to give you any kind of motivation. Because you might not feel motivated to post on LinkedIn, but you are motivated to get a new job. And that can then help you work backwards, or you might be motivated to win new clients, whatever it may be. And then the second reason that's important is to make sure you can angle your content towards your target audience, which makes it sound very marketing-y. But if you want to get a new job, then you're trying to target people who might be looking to hire you. If you're looking to win new clients, you're trying to target prospective customers. And the reason you need to know that when you're posting is because it's very easy to alienate that audience if you're not being careful. An example I always like to use in my sessions is entrepreneurs, especially. They go down the authenticity route, as we all should. Love that. Love a bit of vulnerability. But if you're trying to win new customers with your posts, then sharing that everything is awful and business is really hard and you're finding it really difficult isn't going to help attract those new customers. And that's not to say don't be authentic, because if you're a thought leader and you're trying to inspire other entrepreneurs, and that's great, that's gold, because you're helping show them their downsides. But if you're trying to win new customers and that's your goal, you're telling them that business is bad and you might not be a safe bet for them to spend their money with you. So the angle you can then put on that, if that is your why, is share the hardship either after it's happened, so after you've come out the other side, or with a positive spin on it of this is your solution, this is your strategy to tackle it. But it's thinking, if I were someone looking to spend money with me, would this reassure them? Would it make them think I'm a safe bet to work with? And once you've got your why, one, you've got the motivation, but two, you can then put an angle on anything to try and help you achieve it. Because I think anything could be content, which is probably a sin of mine, but I think anything could be content. You've just got to find the angle that makes it relevant to your audience, really.
That some great starting steps there, Grace, and some real talk as well. I'm so pleased that you mentioned that vulnerability point. And I'm pleased that you just went straight in at that key misconception, which is just sharing everything is helpful for everything, right? There are certain things that will put off your ideal customer profile, your target market, if you're trying to convert leads. So I'm so happy that you mentioned that. I was probably going to try and get that out of you later on in the conversation. You mentioned there, Grace, before about the whole point of this is speeding up the process between prospect and customer, right? And increasing trust with your target market, with people in general. What types of content do that? And also, is there a way in which you would advise people go into that, that they can actually get organized with? Because I'm so acutely aware of the fact that people sit down at their desks they're starting their work day and like, oh, I've just got to quickly get something out on LinkedIn. So
and that's when your mind goes blank, right?
Yeah. Do you have like a process or a strategy or some wisdom that people can follow to make sure that they can be consistent rather than this just being a flash in the pan?
For sure. I think there are a lot of strategies and tips and advice online. And I think oftentimes it's a bit too much. You can go really marketing strategy about it and come up with all of your content pillars, which often I do if I were trying to advise someone on their personal brand. But in the most basic sense, I think you need two types of content. You need, in order for folks to trust you and do business with you, etc., or hire you for a job, they need to know you're damn good at what you do and that you're a good person to do business with or hire or work with. So it's two things, essentially what you do and who you are. And I think everyone does the what you do because that's the easy bit. It's not vulnerable. It's not looking at me. I can talk about what I do and feel quite separate from it. I can say, I went to this networking event last week. That's what I was doing. This is what I'm up to this week. It's what I'm going to be doing. Easy. But very few people, surprisingly few, do the who you are bit. And I think it is because that's the bit that feels exposing. That's the bit that you have to work a bit harder to make it relevant, especially for something like LinkedIn, for fear of the people saying it's turning into Facebook, of which there are still many. But the who you are bit is the bit that makes you memorable. It's the bit that tells me that I knew you before I met you, Chris, and that I liked you before I met you, because it's the bit that gave me your vibe. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you're off the hook. It's fine. But yeah, it's the bit that makes me feel like I know you and feel connected to you. So what you do, easy. Tell us what you're doing with your week, how great you are at your job, etc. The who you are, tell us about your passions, what lights you up. What, if you were at a networking event, you would love someone to come and talk to you about. So before the call, we were talking about our respective news and our personal lives. That's something I'd love someone to talk to me about at a networking event. Come and look at my ring, please. But you know what I mean? That's the bit that makes people feel like they know me better. And I think that's really valuable. So 2 buckets that you can post about. What you do, who you are, put some bullet points under that. So what you do, talk about the fact, your day job, if you've got a side hustle, if you have a hobby, for example, that you do, that is still something that you're doing. But the who you are, what is your unique experience that no one else has? What is your approach to things that might be unique to you? What is your opinion on something? Because that is who you are as well. But start putting bullet points under those 2 buckets, as it were. And then you can refer back to those when you're having a bit of a mind blank. But the second part to that is no matter what you post, it could be what you do, who you are, whatever, it needs to try and make people feel something.
Yes.
Otherwise, it risks being pointless. So whether you're trying to make someone feel like they're learning something, feel entertained, feel inspired, feel like they know you better, it should try and make someone feel something. Because just telling us that your child had a tantrum before you went to work today on its own doesn't do much. But if you're then inspiring other working parents because you're talking about how challenging it is and I'm in the trenches with you, brilliant. Yeah. If you're sharing a tip on how you got that child out the door, that's educational, lovely. Just put a slight angle on it and you're making something that could be factual into something that makes people feel something.
Goodness gracious. We are going to have to do a round 2, Grace, with all of this information, because there are so many things I want to go deeper on there, but we can't. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that you said that word emotion. Someone interviewed me the other day on another podcast, and they said to me, like, what's missing in marketing today? It's emotion. And it kind of leads me on to this next kind of grenade that I'm going to throw at you, which is the ChatGPT AI world that we're going into now. I fear that the whole kind of personal branding scene, becoming a key person of influence, I fear that it's being not manipulated necessarily, but it's just being done in such a poor, inauthentic way that could actually be to the detriment of your business rather than the benefit of your business. So I'd love to get your take on kind of like what the future looks like, because we're already seeing on LinkedIn and other platforms, you can see it, smell it, feel it, an AI post from a million miles off. I'd just like to get your hot take on that kind of situation. Yeah.
I think AI has a very bad reputation in the personal branding space. I think especially, I imagine your LinkedIn feed, Chris, probably resembles mine in a sense, where we follow a lot of those characters who are personal brand people or thought leaders. Bearing in mind, a lot of industries, people won't follow these characters. They probably haven't been exposed to as much of the AI nonsense as we have, because we are in the marketing space. But AI doesn't have to be all negative when it comes to personal branding. And actually, when I talk to people about starting posting on LinkedIn, I don't say don't touch AI, be careful, because it can make something that's very difficult a lot easier for people. Not effortless, but a lot easier. I think it's going to continue. We're going to keep seeing more of it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if it's helping more people get involved. But I think the main differentiator is going to be the people who put in the effort to make it them and make it their opinion and make it sound like them after the fact. Because anybody can say to ChatGPT, write me a LinkedIn post today with no context, no opinion, no content, and it will give you something. Will it be any good? Who knows? But it'll give you something. Whereas the people who, I think more people are using it than you think. I think most people probably are feeding it an opinion or something juicy that they think that can't be replicated necessarily by a machine, or they'll give it time. They're then letting AI help it turn it into something if you can't quite find the words to make it a fully rounded post. And then they're making the effort at the end to edit it and make it sound like themselves. I think without doing that sandwich, if you're not starting it and finishing it, you're just letting it run on its own, that's when you get the nonsense that we're seeing a lot of, that's making everything feel a bit icky online at the moment. So I think we're going to see more of it. I think it's inevitable. I don't think people should shy away from using it, because if everyone's going to be posting more and it becomes a race to keep up with the noise, you're going to need it probably to be able to run that efficiently. But keep it you and keep it authentic. And I think it's the messiness of humans. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say, but the weird sentence structures, the conversational fillers, the heys and the you knows and the ums and the acronyms, the slang that you use that make you sound like a person, those are the things that AI will strip out of your content. And they're the things that if you're not doing that sandwich, or if you are doing it all yourself, which a lot of people can and should, if you're able, do it all yourself, those are things you'll be putting back in at the end. My prediction actually is that, they start putting the icon in images when everything's done by AI. You get a little icon now on LinkedIn saying this photo has been done with Creative Cloud, or whatever it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they introduce that at some point to text posts, if they can identify that it's all AI, for example, because LinkedIn does want humans using the platform, not automated bots. They're cracking down on third parties who are helping to automate everything.
Yes.
Sales Navigator, but for other reasons too. I wouldn't be surprised if they do try and crack down on that and put labels on things that are 100% automated to try and keep the humans on the platform and enjoying it. That was a ramble, but
no, I loved it. I loved it. And what a sad state of affair. This is a bit of a side subject, but what a sad state of affairs that we're entering in terms of we're just kind of, there's robots talking to robots and no one's actually talking to each other anymore.
Yeah. And there's engagement loops. I heard about that for the first time the other day. And someone accused me of being in one, and I thought, oh crikey, what have I done? What have I said?
Yeah, please don't do that. That's a good warning. And that leads me nicely on, Grace, to ask you about the mistakes that people make when it comes to their personal brand. I'd love to get as many as possible in as quick a way as possible. I'd love to hear that, because it's all very well and good talking about all the stuff to do, but what is the stuff that you see where you're like, oh no, please don't do that with your personal brand?
I think one that I think a lot of people are guilty of is inconsistency. And by that, I don't mean posting every day for the rest of your life, because that is consistent, but is really exhausting. It's more so, don't save up everything to do one brilliant post and then never post again. So a lot of the people I work with, they might be working on a brilliant project, or they'll have something really exciting that they're building up and they're saving it, because once it's all done, they're going to put it in a lovely post and put it out into the world. Lovely. But the phrase I often refer to is today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper.
Yes.
And that's an old phrase, right? But essentially, tomorrow, there's going to be a new post out, and it's not going to be yours. And whilst you may have made a nice little splash today, tomorrow it's going to be buried and it's going to be forgotten. So in order to stay front of mind, it needs to be little and often. And if what consistency looks like for you is actually posting once a week, brilliant, fine, plenty. If it's once a month, sure, I'd rather you post once a month consistently than do one brilliant one and then nothing else for the rest of the year. So I think that kind of inconsistency even break that brilliant project up into 6 posts if you can. But that kind of inconsistency where you use it all in one post and then disappear forevermore is a real shame to see. So that's a big mistake for sure. Number 2 is probably not sounding like yourself. I meet a lot of people who go very formal on LinkedIn, and I think they think B2B platform, professional platform, I must speak like I'm writing a cover letter. But, it's painful, especially when you know them in real life, right? And you think, you're sincerely, who are you kidding? That is not what you sound like. I think just speak. A kind of a tip that I do with myself sometimes, and I recommend to other people, is read it out loud once you've written it. And if it makes you cringe saying it, or if you can't really get it out, if it doesn't sound right, then make it sound more like you, because the chances are, if it doesn't sound like you, you shouldn't be putting it out there, because it's not going to reflect who you are. So that's probably number 2, and then I'll just do 3. The third one is probably not engaging back.
Oh, yes.
I'm the worst for this, I'll be honest. I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but doing a post and then not engaging with the folks who comment and kind of looking at the other things that are being shared online is probably one of the worst things you can do, because that's when you build a one-sided relationship. So you might get it occasionally, I get it occasionally, and I feel very flattered when people come up to you and say, "Oh, Grace, nice to see you." And I think, "Oh no, who are you? Who are you, lovely person?" And it's because they've probably commented on my LinkedIn post, then maybe sent me a message or something, or liked over a period of time. And if I haven't actively engaged back, they don't stick in my memory, which sounds awful, but it is that building that connections. It's that two-way street. In order for them to stay in my mind, I have to see and engage and digest their content too.
Just Grace, on that
really,
post, just on that posting and ghosting point, I don't think people realize that. I think people just see it as a chore or another job to do or another thing on their tick list, but they don't realize that it helps post performance. It helps your post stay in the feed longer by responding. So why wouldn't you respond? And I also think a really clever thing, personally, you might disagree with this, is I love responding to a comment with a question so that they comment again, so that my post performs even more, right? So just asking an open question like, what did you take away from this? Or what are you doing this week? Or just something that just keeps that conversation going, that connection going. And therefore your post will stay in their feed longer. And also you'll appear in their feed more often moving forwards as well, because that's how the algorithm currently works. I love those mistakes you've flagged, Grace. And I mean it when I say it. I do say it often on this, but I really, really mean it with you. We must do a round 2 conversation, because there's so many elements of that personal branding world that we need to do a deeper dive on. But thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Just before you go, Grace, because I know you're a very busy bee, a business plug. Where can people go to connect with you, to do business with you?
So I am currently building and launching next year the East Anglian Marketing Awards. So we're a non-profit awards programme that our mission is to celebrate talent within East Anglia, but also to broadcast the talent that's here beyond the borders. So that's really exciting. Nominations will open in March. So if you're interested in sponsoring, I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in following along, please find us on socials. And in March, please do nominate, folks. Nominations are free on purpose to try and encourage as many people as possible to celebrate each other. So please do consider doing that when the time comes around next year.
And what a lovely little secret Santa for your personal brand, right? I mean, what a fantastic thing to get involved in, to say you're a part of, to use as credibility, right? So I would highly recommend that people head your way. Grace, thanks for your time today. I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
No worries at all. And thank you so much to everyone that's watching live, watching back, listening back. If you've enjoyed this conversation, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, a like, a subscribe, a comment. If you've got any questions about personal branding, I put her under some pressure here now, so she can't say no. Ask Grace the questions in the social post, and hopefully she'll be able to get back to you. But if not, contact her and arrange a session. I'm sure she'll be able to help. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to A Coffee with Chris, and I'll see you this time next week for another one.